One day, my husband approached me with a casual question. Hey, how much money do we have in that vault? I couldn't help but chuckle, estimating, hmm, probably around $500,000 in total. The next day, upon returning home, I found a signed divorce paper on the living room table, and both my husband and the vault were nowhere to be seen. My name is Helen, a 58-year-old working housewife. Despite the shock, I continued to work diligently at my job. You see, my hobby is saving money. It traces back to my childhood when my mother opened a savings account for me, explaining how depositing money in the bank made the numbers in my passbook grow. It fascinated me. I started with just $1 and relished watching it accumulate. As my savings grew over the years, I found joy in understanding finances. Eventually, I became a financial planner, offering advice on asset management. One day, a friend from college reached out, concerned about an old childhood friend named Mark, who was in deep trouble due to gambling debts. Mark, despite his charming demeanor, was struggling to make ends meet due to his gambling addiction. Listening to his story, I couldn't help but find his troubled expression endearing. So I gladly offered my help. Little did I know this would mark the beginning of a series of tumultuous events. In hindsight, maybe there was a hint of a crush on my part, but I never anticipated the path it would lead us down. Advising Mark to consolidate his debts and manage his finances better, I hoped to steer him toward a stable future. Surprisingly, not long after, Mark and I found ourselves drawn to each other romantically. Despite objections from friends, we got married, believing it would help us face Mark's debts together. With my stable income, most of Mark's earnings went towards clearing his debts. I also took measures to limit his interaction with his parents to prevent further financial strain. Yet, cutting ties with them wasn't easy. Mark's parents accused him of ingratitude and resented me for intervening in their affairs. Eventually, Mark reached his breaking point and confronted his parents, asserting his independence. Finally, free from the burden of their debts, he returned to me, feeling relieved. Soon after, we welcomed our son, Kevin, who inherited his father's handsome features. He's my pride and joy. Kevin seemed to inherit his father's carefree nature, much to my dismay. Just as our son observed Mark's lack of discipline and indecisiveness, I too noticed how Mark's character remained unchanged. Despite our struggles, I managed to keep Mark in line over the 23 years of our marriage. Recently, we've made significant progress, reducing Mark's debt to about $10,000. We were on the brink of full repayment. Then came the call from Mark's parents. Your father has collapsed. Can you come to the hospital? Mark rushed to their side, leaving me a message apologizing for breaking our promise not to contact his parents. His father had suffered a minor stroke, thankfully not life-threatening. Mark stayed with them to provide comfort, leaving me to manage things at home. Mark's frequent visits to his parents became a routine, each time costing us a few $100s. I suspected financial strain on their part and turned a blind eye, allowing Mark to provide for them. A year passed since the incident, and my in-laws leaned more heavily on us for support. Meanwhile, my hobby of saving money remained steadfast. One day, as I glanced at my bank book in the vault, Mark, usually disinterested in finances, asked about our savings. About $500,000, I replied casually. But the next morning, I found divorce papers on the table, and both Mark and the vault were gone. As I sat down for breakfast, a knowing smile spread across my face. Mark's attempt to take the entire vault with him was both foolish and amusing. Amidst the chaos, our black cat, Luna, provided solace. Watching her antics on the pet camera became a source of comfort during my lunch breaks. But one day, as I tuned into the camera, I witnessed an unexpected scene in our living room, a conversation between my in-laws and Mark, revealing secrets I never imagined. "You're living in such a nice house, Mark. Let's have a good salary makes your mother so proud," they said, flattering my husband. "Indeed, I am proud," responded Mark's father. "You know, I make a pretty decent salary myself, but Helen takes all of it, so I only get an allowance of $500 a month," Mark explained. "Oh, you poor thing. You've been working so hard. Your mother understands," they consoled. "I can't believe she takes all your salary and only gives you $500 a month. That's outrageous. You should be getting more. Why are you obeying such a tyrant like Helen? You could be living much better on your own," they continued, their voices filled with concern. "You're our pride, Mark. You could have saved hundreds of thousands by now, but she's just exploiting you, you poor thing," they said, as Mark's mother began to sob. "Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing. You guys are right," Mark agreed. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could he forget all the hard work I've put in to pay off his debts? What was going on in their heads? In the past, it was Mark burdened with debt from his parents, needing to give them cash every month, making it hard for him to get by. "You know, she has a bank book with tons of savings stashed away. It's not fair that I only get 500, Mark complained. The moment he said that, my in-laws' eyes lit up, exchanging glances eagerly awaiting his answer. "Last I heard, I think it was around 400K or 500K dollars," Mark said. "Mark, isn't that money rightfully yours?" they asked. "It might not match the effort you've put in, but isn't it money you should be receiving?" they continued. "Yeah, I guess you're right. I'm starting to think the same thing," Mark conceded. Despite his good looks, Mark is indecisive and easily influenced by others. I used to find this endearing and devoted myself to him wholeheartedly. We managed to reduce his nearly $200,000 debt down to $10,000. Yet it looks like he's being manipulated by his parents again, and they're about to touch my precious savings. Seeing this scene was pathetic. I was at my desk at work, tears streaming down my face as I held my phone. Despite explaining everything to Mark, it seems he's completely forgotten. What have these past 23 years been for? I felt so sad and pitiful. My heart ached as if I was drowning in my own tears. It's not fair. I felt like I was disappearing, on the verge of breaking. But I made sure to record the conversation and sent the data to my son. That day, I left work early due to sickness. I went to my usual bar and drank heavily, spilling out everything to the bartender. In such a state, the bartender comforted me gently, saying, "Why do you grieve for such a person? You did nothing wrong. There's no need to live for them. Live for yourself." At that moment, all my intoxication and love for my husband faded. "Thank you, sir. Next time, we'll share a pleasant dream," I said to the bartender. Entering my study at home, I began to think. How would I steal the bank book inside that vault? I couldn't even begin to imagine, but I needed to devise a plan. I will show them hell. They shouldn't underestimate me. Gathering evidence was the first step. From then on, I frequently checked the pet camera every day. Then, the ugly truths began to surface. My husband was bringing home a young woman during his supposed work hours. It seemed like he was bringing her over about 3 times a week. I couldn't believe I had to witness my husband's infidelity when all I wanted was to watch our cat, Luna. Luna seemed scared and wouldn't show up. They ruined my precious relaxation time. No, more than that, they betrayed me, which I can't forgive. One day, I'll punish them severely. While I was working, I activated the pet camera, but this time, it wasn't the woman my husband was having an affair with. It was my in-laws at our house again. "So, is everything arranged to take that bank book from Helen?" they said with an unpleasant grin. "You're smart. You must have thought of something, right?" my father-in-law remarked. "Yeah, I've thought about it. I'm thinking of taking the entire vault." "It'll be easy," Mark replied confidently. "But that vault is quite heavy. Are you sure you can do it?" his father questioned. "I'll be fine. I'll load it onto a cart." "Help me out, Dad," Mark insisted. As they discussed their plan, I pledged in my heart once again to drag these people down to the depths of hell. "If we have that money from that bank book, we can go to the casino as a family. We can live as a family of 3 again," Mark's mother suggested. "That's right. Let's live happily with the money from that bank book, right, Mark?" his father chimed in. "Yeah, but I do feel a little bad about Helen. She was saving up so happily, working so hard, and now we take it all." Mark hesitated. "You can't be so weak-willed. We're doing this for your happiness, remember? Besides, you found a new wife, haven't you? Quickly divorce that woman. I have to divorce for her sake as well. I'll leave the divorce papers here," his father said, as he placed the papers on the table. "Well, I guess that makes sense," Mark replied, strangely accepting of the situation. As they left, I sat at my desk, sipping coffee, recording the scene on my phone screen. I wasn't even upset or sad anymore. If they had such intentions, so did I. I was going to show them all hell. I was fired up. The next day, Mark asked me, "Hey, how much money is in that passbook on the vault? You always seem so happy when you're looking at it." "There's about $500,000 in there," I replied casually. The following day, when I got home, there was a signed divorce paper in the living room, and both my husband and the vault were gone. I couldn't help but smirk as I sat down for breakfast. Acting quickly, I filed for divorce and contacted my son. "Kevin, your father finally stole a vault. Can't believe he managed to carry it. It's so heavy," I told him. "Mom, I think it's about time you end things with Dad." "By the way, did he take everything in the vault too?" Kevin asked. "Actually, I moved all the money to online banking. The passbook is essentially worthless now. The most valuable thing might have been the safe itself since it was so heavy. Oh, by the way, I've already filed the divorce papers. Now, I'm thinking about filing a police report." "What do you think?" I explained. Kevin suggested I hire a lawyer, and so I did. I handed over the recording from my pet camera to the police and the lawyer and waited. After a while, I received a call from my ex-husband, sounding quite frantic. "What the hell? The passbook is empty. What happened to the $500,000? You tricked me. That was my money. Where is it? Tell me now, or I'm going back to the house and abandoning your cat, Luna," he threatened. "From now on, communicate through my lawyer," I said, and blocked his number. I reported the incident to the police and sent the recording to my lawyer. Karma is a real pain. I got a call from the police shortly after. We have caught the thief. However, the vault was damaged. It appears he forced it open, and the things inside it were burned, they informed me. Even though it was his first offense, my ex-husband and his parents learned that the passbook balance was 0. My ex-husband spent a few days in police custody while his parents were released with a stern warning. Shortly after his release, my ex-husband broke into the house he used to live in. "Hey, open up. I've come back. I'm sorry. It was just a small prank. Let me in. Let's talk. You haven't filed the divorce papers yet, have we? We're still married, right?" he pleaded. "Don't make a scene in front of the house. This is no longer your house. I've already filed the divorce papers. We are strangers now. Leave now, or I'll call the police," I asserted firmly. "You jerk! This is my house. Open up! Open up!" he yelled. I called the police when he started causing a scene. 10 minutes later, he was taken away by the police again. I then called my lawyer, explained what happened, and had him start the process of getting a restraining order. Afterwards, I asked my lawyer to sue for emotional distress due to infidelity. The lawyer said we might not get much money from his broke family, but none of that really matters. I'm definitely going to demand alimony. It seems the reason he broke into our house was because he was discarded by his mistress and apparently wanted to get back with me. His mistress promptly transferred $10,000 in alimony and seemed to have fled. It seems they split after the vault incident. When the money runs out, so does the love. I'm sure he was enticed by my $500,000. My underpaid ex-husband, who still has $10,000 in debt, and his gambling-addicted parents seem to be struggling with daily life. He appeared to be living in an old single-room apartment without a bath, constantly quarreling among the three of them. This information came from my lawyer. My ex-husband pleaded, "I can't afford to pay the alimony. Please reduce the amount." And my ex-husband, who got involved with the police, was on the verge of retirement, but apparently got fired from his company. The elderly parents-in-law have managed to find jobs in cleaning and seem to be barely making ends meet. My ex-husband is now working 3 part-time jobs, but these 3 are gambling addicts, so no matter how much money they have, it disappears. There's no helping them. I had my lawyer tell them, "No reduction, stay away from her. If you're really sorry, show it with money." If he had stayed with me, he had planned to end the remaining $10,000 debt by the time he retired. But he fell for the sweet talk of his gambling-addicted parents-in-law. How foolish. This $500,000 is an accumulation of my savings that I have started building from a very young age. I find it enjoyable to save small change. There's just something fun about updating the bank book. So I think I'll start a new bank book right now. I'm living a relaxed life with my black cat, Luna. My son visits occasionally and tells me about his girlfriend. This time, I'm going to spend time for myself. I need to buy a new vault, one that's so big that a person can't carry it. Right, Luna? I am the happiest I've ever been.